The mule had been with him longer than most people had. Jonah Cole had raised it from a stubborn, knock-kneed colt into the strongest pack animal in 3 counties. Gray as storm ash, sure-footed in rock and river, the mule knew Jonah's voice better than any human. Folks laughed when Jonah talked to it like a man, but the mule listened, and more than once it had saved Jonah's life in the hills. That morning, Jonah was hauling fence posts along the dry arroyo when he heard crying, short, sharp breaths, the kind that meant fear was already chewing at the throat. He stopped the wagon and followed the sound into a stand of cottonwoods. There, crouched behind a fallen trunk, were 2 young Apache women. Sisters, by the look of their matching faces and the way one shielded the other with her body. Their dresses were torn, feet bleeding, hair loose and tangled. One clutched a small leather bundle to her chest. When Jonah stepped closer, both flinched as if expecting a blow. "I ain't here to hurt you," Jonah said quietly, raising his empty hands. The older sister stared at him, eyes hard with terror and resolve. "They will kill us," she said in broken English. "Our father, he comes." Jonah swallowed. He knew that look. He'd seen it in men riding to war and women waiting at graves. "Why's he coming?" The younger sister spoke this time, her voice barely a whisper. "He promised us to men we did not choose. We ran." Jonah closed his eyes for a moment. The territory was full of men who believed promises mattered more than lives. He glanced back toward the open land. Tracks would be easy to follow. Anyone riding hard would reach the arroyo by sundown. "How far behind is he?" Jonah asked. The older sister listened to the wind, then shook her head. "Half a day, maybe less." Jonah felt the weight of the moment settle on his chest. If he helped them, he'd be crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. If he didn't, he'd be leaving 2 terrified women to a fate they were willing to bleed to escape. He looked at the mule standing patient by the wagon. Strong, fast, worth more than Jonah owned besides his land. "You know how to ride?" Jonah asked. The younger sister nodded quickly. "I can." Jonah didn't hesitate after that. He walked to the mule, rubbed its neck once, and whispered, "Guess it's time, old friend." He cut the harness loose, ignoring the way his hands shook. From the wagon, he grabbed a water skin, a sack of dried meat, and a small blanket. He handed them over, then boosted the younger sister onto the mule's back. The older sister climbed up behind her, arms tight around her waist. "Head south," Jonah said. "Follow the ridge, then the creek. Don't stop till dark. This mule knows where to place its feet. Trust it." The older sister stared down at him, disbelief mixing with gratitude. "You give us your best mule." Jonah managed a thin smile. "Ain't much good to me if it don't do something worthwhile." The mule snorted softly, as if in agreement. "Go," Jonah said. They did. Jonah watched until the gray shape disappeared into the hills. Then he went back to his wagon and did the hardest thing of all, he covered their tracks. He drove the wagon back and forth through the arroyo, led it across rocky ground, even circled wide to confuse any rider who knew what they were doing. By mid-afternoon, dust appeared on the horizon. Jonah felt it before he saw it. Horses. Several of them. Moving fast. He stood by his fence line, hat low, hands resting on his belt. When the riders reached him, they pulled up sharp. At their head was a tall Apache man with streaks of gray in his hair and fire in his eyes. His face was carved with anger and fear so tightly bound they were almost the same thing. "You," the man said. "You saw 2 women." Jonah didn't answer. Right away. He measured his words like a man counting bullets. "I saw folks pass through this land today." The father dismounted in one smooth motion. "Where did they go?" Jonah met his gaze. "I don't know." The lie hung between them like a drawn blade. The father stepped closer. "They are my daughters." Jonah's jaw tightened. "Then you should have kept them safe." A murmur rippled through the riders. The father's eyes flashed. "They belong to their people. They belong to themselves," Jonah said before he could stop himself. For a long moment, no one moved. The sun burned low, painting the land red and gold. The father studied Jonah's face, searching for weakness, for fear, for a crack. "You helped them," the father said at last. Jonah didn't deny it. "I gave them a chance." The father's hand rested near his knife. "You stole from me." Jonah shook his head slowly. "I gave away what was mine." Another silence. Longer this time. Finally, the father straightened. His shoulders sagged just a little, like a man carrying more than anger. "You gave them your mule." Jonah blinked. How do you know that? The tracks, the father said. Only a fool or a good man gives his best animal to those he does not know. Jonah exhaled. The father turned his gaze toward the south, where the hills swallowed the sky. They will not come back, he said, not as a question. No, Jonah said softly. They won't. The father closed his eyes. When he opened them, the fire was still there, but something else had joined it. Grief. I wanted them safe, he said. I thought I was doing right. Jonah nodded. Most men do. The father mounted his horse. If they live, he said, it will be because of you. He raised his hand, signaling his riders. Dust rose again as they turned away, heading north, chasing nothing. Jonah stood alone until the sound faded. Only then did his knees weaken. He sank onto the fence rail and stared at the empty land. He didn't see the mule again for 3 years. It was late spring when Jonah spotted a familiar gray shape cresting the ridge, moving slow but steady. 2 women walked beside it now, not riding. They were older, stronger, their eyes calm. The older sister smiled when she saw him. He brought us back, she said, patting the mule's neck. To say thank you. Jonah's throat closed. He reached out, resting his forehead against the mule's warm shoulder. You did good, he whispered. As the sun dipped low once more, Jonah realized something simple and true. Sometimes the greatest thing a man can own is the thing he's willing to give away.